every time people always say, I don't have enough money to start a business. I don't have enough this. I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm like,
just start.
You literally cannot have less.
That's our story too. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today.
Yeah, welcome to the Married in Business podcast. We've got today Chris and Ty Woods from Artportunity Knox and the Love and Entrepreneurship podcast. They're business coaches, entrepreneurs, husband and wife. They fit right in with everything we love to talk about here on the Married in Business podcast. Hey, Chris and Ty, welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us. We appreciate the invite.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, want to talk about, you guys are kind of similar to us. You've got a few businesses and things. Tell us about what you guys do, especially your big venture, Artportunity Knox, doing a lot of cool things for kids in the art world and exposing them to a lot of cool things.
Yeah, I'll start and then I'll let Ty jump in. She's more of the talker than I am. So Artportunity Knox really started probably about 16 years ago, which started in the second bedroom of our apartment at the time in Smyrna, Georgia. And what started with 3 students quickly turned into 40 students in 3 months. And that's kind of how we realized there was a need for us to kind of reach the community. Our backgrounds is arts and entertainment. Ty sings, dance, acts. I
used to.
You can still sing, though. My background is music, entertainment, acting, things like that. And so we wanted to really just share our passion for the arts to the community. We had, like I said, 40 teenagers, and we opened our door and we fed them. And you know what happened when you feed kids, right?
They keep coming back. Then they multiply.
That's right.
Well, you need to start making some trips to Costco at that point. Yeah.
And so to date, we have how many students we have impacted, Ty?
To date is a little over 100,000 students.
And we still feed them. And we still feed them
just a little bit on a much major scale. But we serve about 2,000 students during the school year. And during the summertime, we serve about 1,500 students. So we're a total about 4,000 or 5,000 students a year.
What's your main outreach programs, or what kind of programs do you offer the kids to get them engaged and serve them?
So we focus primarily on providing after school and summer programs for students who are generally not as accessible, or the programs are not as accessible to them as it is to maybe students who have the means to pay for these type of programs. And so we call that program Arts Access. So it's an access program that provides various forms of arts, from dance to acting to singing to television production, music production, filmmaking and screenwriting.
We say if it's in the arts, we do it. I mean, we even incorporated culinary arts. And one instructor wanted to do martial arts because that was their background. So we say if it's in the arts, we do tackle it.
Yeah, and we included STEM in that focus as well. So we have a STEAM focus where you put the A in STEM and make it STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. Arts and math.
Nice. How many instructors do you guys have?
Well, in the summertime, we have a much bigger focus because you have millions of students that's out of school. Yeah. So we tend to have about 60 to 80 instructors at any given moment during the summertime. But in the after school sector, since we have a hyper focus on particular schools and partnerships with particular schools and school districts, then we may have only maybe 20 to 30 instructors, depending on the number of students we have enrolled in the after school program. So the focus is different. Our summer program is based on like how many kids can we get in the program at a time versus after school being focused on education deliverables.
Yeah.
And the school may have some education deliverables that they want us to partner with them on. And then we use the arts, it's called arts integration. We use the arts to help push those education goals.
Very cool. So what are the age ranges? I guess you got as a teenagers, or you doing kids of all ages?
Yeah, students of all ages from age 5 all the way to 19.
Yeah, it's a K through 12 program currently.
Yeah, but we get so many requests for what's next after they graduate. And so we've been exploring really kind of this in-between time frame for students who college might not necessarily be for them. So how can we train them and educate them so they can be go into the workforce and not have so much student debt or zero student debts to prepare for their family?
Yeah, so that's a new program that we're initiating under a workforce development, especially in Georgia, where we are now following behind Hollywood is number 2 in the most entertainment and film production that is being produced in Hollywood today. Yep. So when they used to say, "Oh, this is Hollywood," but actually this is Atlanta, and we actually produce just as much entertainment as Hollywood now. Yeah. So we wanted to, and one of the major hiccups that Georgia had in the beginning, and I think things are starting to turn around, but one of the major flaws was that we didn't have a pipeline of entertainment workers. And so what happened is people were bringing in their crews from LA, from New York. And so, of course, if you don't live here and you're getting paid here from here, then you're taking your money outside of the state,
including getting the tax break. So we want to help,
including tax breaks.
We want to help stimulate the economy and build up the next generation, especially those who have that passion in arts and entertainment, to really help generate revenue for the state of Georgia and keep the money in Georgia.
Right. And the only way to do that is by creating that pipeline of the workforce. Mm-hmm. And it starts from when they're teenagers, right? Not from when they're in college.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we appreciate a lot. Appreciate a lot up here because, with us being in trucking, it's not always college is not always the best opportunity or for people. There's other things out there. So that's awesome. Teaching people, there's different ways to do it. It's not just a traditional go to college and rack up that $20,000 a year in debt to do it.
Yeah, I believe education is for everyone. But education looks different for everyone, right? Yes. So that might not necessarily be college. It might be a training. It might be a trade school.
Program,
right? It might be like get your trucking license and learn how to drive trucks. Like
there's still an education component to that.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to high school students, and I asked a group of seniors, I'm like, how many of y'all know what you want to do after college? It's like 5 of them raised their hand. I said, well, don't go to college to try to figure it out. If you think you want to do something, get an internship, figure out what you want to do and see if you need a college degree to get there, because you may not.
Because you may not. Unless you're a doctor, then I need you to go to college. But
yeah.
Don't operate on me.
Don't operate on me with a certificate. So there are, our business with Artportunity Knox is just one aspect of what we do together. We focus on development as a whole. So we don't just develop businesses, but we also develop people. So our focus have always been development business, but really focus on the people.
Yeah.
So we're in the people business.
Yeah. We believe that's our life mission, to empower and raise up people in leadership.
Yeah.
Well, one question that just popped into my head, so you're doing a lot of things for kids. What do you guys do? How are you able to provide for these kids? What type of fundraisings do you guys do? Things like that to help provide the programs for all the kids.
I'll tap on that since I do the majority of the fundraising. I am I'm over development, and development in the nonprofit world is all about where you go to find money for these programs. And so, of course, everybody knows about grants and grant writing. I had to actually go back to school. So I have a master's degree, but my master's program did not teach me how to write grants. So I actually went to a certificate program to learn how to master how to write grants. And I did that. And since then, we've been rolling with grants. We have about 70% of our income is grants. The other percentage is corporate donations and sponsorships and fees, because we do have some programs that are fee-based, because we have programs where parents can actually afford to pay. And when you can't afford to pay, we ask that you do pay. For those who can afford to pay, those are the ones, it's kind of like, I hate to say the Robin Hood strategy, but it's more so, it's not stealing from the rich, but the rich can pay. So what we do is we host programs in areas where we know people can pay, so that we can leverage, and of course we charge a fee where we can create a profit. But because it's a nonprofit, the profit that's used from the fees that we charge, right, we use the profits to pay for the non-profit side of our.
That's really great.
Very cool.
And everybody pays something.
Right. Everybody pays something. We have that model because we want everybody to have a stake in this.
Yep.
So even those who are attending our free programs, our free, what we call free tuition programs, they still pay like a $65 registration fee, which is not a whole lot of money for a whole school year, but at least they have some type of ownership.
Yeah, exactly. And have some skin in the game.
Yeah, you got skin in the game.
Yeah, we always notice that when you gotta, maybe if they gotta raise their own, I think some of the kids have to raise their own funds to do the program or something like that, they get a little bit more out of it, right? Because hey, I made this happen. I went out, I raised the money, I made this happen, and I learned something from it. So there's always that sense of ownership and everything too that comes with, a process like that.
That's what I love about Girl Scouts and the Girls and Boy Scouts. They have that aspect in their leadership program. I really like that aspect
of student
fundraising.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about even like our son, he has $10 or something to spend. It's like, well, what are you going to spend it on? He's like, well, can you just buy it? I'm like, well, if you really want it, you can use part of that money that you have to buy it, and then they're like, well, maybe, and then if something happens to it, he's like, I spent my own money on that. I'm like, yeah, I know. See how you feel when it's your money? Like, I think it's important for people to feel like they've contributed towards whatever they're working towards.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. One of the things you guys talk about is, you have your Love and Entrepreneurship podcast. You guys have been in business together for, it sounds like at least 16 years. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey as husband and wife entrepreneurs and some of the ups and downs of that?
Ooh, well, by the way, when we started, that two bedroom that we started in was an apartment that we had an eviction notice on. So just to give you a little background about where we started, we didn't start our business with a trust fund, someone died and left us $1 million, and then we can like jumpstart our business, or, we didn't have that. We started where we were.
Yeah.
We started where we were, and we preach that like every time people always say, I don't have enough money to start a business. I don't have enough this. I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm like,
just start.
You literally cannot have less.
That's our story too.
and our journey really kind of goes back a little further than that, because my wife and I met online before it was popular.
Way before it was popular.
There was no Facebook. There was no
AOL chat rooms.
Yeah, you couldn't see what a person looked like, right? It was dial up. We tell it our age, even though we don't look like it, right? But in that process, I knew. I always tell people the one of the most important decisions you'll make is the spouse that you choose, right?
Yeah,
because that person can either elevate you or pull you down. Right. And so having Ty she already knew I had an entrepreneur spirit, and I'm working as a janitor.
He was a janitor.
And I'm saying we're going to do all these things. And she's like, oh, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. Right.
I believed him for some reason.
You have to believe in your husband. You have to support them. I get that.
Yeah. I was the entrepreneurial drive too. I'm the one that wanted to start the business.
And I'm like, okay, you're going to need some help. So I'm going to go with it. We're going to do this together.
And ironically, now I have to pull her back. She starts a business every week. But we started.
I'm starting a business too.
It's addicting.
It is addicting, right? So we do call ourselves serial entrepreneurs, but we started when we first got married. We had a screen printing, publishing business that we started because we lived on the island and we wanted to create revenues to produce reading and content to educate people. And so we started that. That was kind of like our first business together.
In our first year of marriage.
In our first year of
marriage. I do not recommend that, by the way.
Well, I didn't even know each other yet. You already jumped into business, so
you're still together. That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a lot. I worked a full-time job. And that's one thing, too, in our transition. It took a while before we could really quit our 9 to 5. And I always encourage people to make sure you have an exit plan out of your job. And when you're working your job, use it as paid training, right? So there's things that you can learn on your job while you're working your business. And we live by that motto, and we lived it. So now we can talk about it, right?
Yeah, I always tell people, if you don't have the funds to just quit your job right now, then look for jobs where you can develop the skill set that you need to actually work your business. And they're like, oh my gosh, that is a great tip.
Right.
But we had to learn that in order to teach it.
Like, oh, I hate my job. No.
Don't hate your job.
They're paying you to learn the things you need to do in your business.
Don't hate your job. Actually, take a different approach to it. We always talk about the mindset on our show. And one of the things about having a growth mindset is knowing that there is always a lesson that you can learn from any situation. Yep. So we don't look at things in a negative light because we don't really see things as, there's been times when, oh my gosh, I wanted to quit so many times.
That was last week, right? If you're an entrepreneur, there's a time you want to quit, right?
It's not as frequent anymore, but there's some days you're just like, why did I do this? And what am I doing? Yeah, well, what did I get myself into, But yeah, that happens.
It used to be very frequent, but now I think we're kind of coasting. But in the beginning, it was very, very tough when we had to work a job. I remember he took a second job overnight. He was doing security because we just wasn't quite making the cut on the bills.
It's a second job too.
Yeah. So see, a lot of people don't see that aspect. They see where we are today and they say, oh, wow, you guys are so successful. And then I'm like, well,
there's a sacrifice in place.
There was a sacrifice that took place some years back.
We paid the cost to get to where we are.
Paid the cost to be the boss.
We didn't really have any help either when we got started. We decided we wanted to start a trucking company, and we basically had good credit. We took out some loans, and we put a down payment down for 3 trucks, and we hired 6 drivers, and we've grown to 28 trucks and over 30 people on staff. So awesome. Sometimes you just gotta take that leap, and I can't believe we did it. I don't know what we were thinking at sometimes, but it's been hard. But yeah, like you said, there's really never a good time to start something. You just gotta jump in.
Yeah, you're right when you're talking about some of the, we're successful now, but you don't see the hard work. There's a song that I like, and the guy he goes, nobody came to all my shows for the first 1,000 shows. Nobody showed up. And then he says, I became an overnight sensation in just over 10 years. So that's kind of what people see you when you're successful. They don't see all the rest that goes into it.
I love that. I tell people that say it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. Where are you at on that?
So it's something that we live by. It's a mantra that we live by. To work, we try to show people live like what kind of work we're doing now. We still work today. It just looks different.
It's different work,
looks different. But there was a lot of work that went into this leading up to and then we have Artportunity Knox, but we also have G1 Investments, which is our rental property.
Real estate.
Property rental. So we own the properties, and then we also rent them out. And it's another mission focused. That's a for-profit company, but it's still mission focused because 50% of the people that we rent to are tenants that are paid by subsidies, housing subsidies. And that's because we want to provide affordable housing because we know what it's like to not have affordable housing. So it's like, we still have it's almost like every mission, every business that we start ends up becoming a mission field for us.
Yeah, it's your passion that you put into a job and a business for you guys. I think that's awesome. So being passionate about what you're doing, I think, is definitely the key to keep going when things are hard and not quit when you see what you're doing and who you're impacting. I think goes a long way too.
Yeah. Tell us about you also mentioned you do business coaching and yes, what kind of things are you coaching, or where you focus on there?
So I have a focus on development because a lot of people don't know how to develop the funding for their business. So I focus specifically on how do you get the money, from contract building to government grants to government contracts to just regular grants, foundations, and sponsorships. There's so many different avenues where you could get funds for your business. And I think I've mastered it now.
Putting that master's to use.
I didn't learn that in my master's degree program either. And you want to know where I learned all of that? Trial and error. The School of Hard Knocks. And that school taught me very well. Actually, that was the best teacher. The pressure from the things of life that happened to us caused me to think innovatively, like, if that's a word. But I had to think outside the box about how to get money for the business because I knew there was a way. So, as a result, then you get creative with how you kind of put what we call a funding package together. And most people only look at one way to fund their business. They're like, okay, well, I'll just get loans or I just get credit cards, when there are, I think we had at one point like 7 or 8 streams of revenue coming into one business.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
One business.
Yeah.
And I focus on that. I actually have a webinar on that. I will be doing this every first Thursday at 7 p.m. I will be talking about funding strategies on my show on IamKyleWoods.com.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm the operations person in everything we do. So I'm very system oriented. Mm-hmm. I'm an engineer by trade. So I see everything as an engineering project, including people. So now I just say I engineer people. And so through Love and Entrepreneurship, we are later in the year, we are going to launch our Love and Entrepreneurship Business Accelerator. So those people who have started their business and may need a little boost, need some fine tuning, some coaching, that will be available for them. They will get a curriculum to follow, a guide, and they will get us for 6 weeks to help them along the way. Cool. Yep. And so focus on couples or people who work in relationships together.
So it's a team. So they have to have 2 people that sign up with them. So because we know that it's really hard to do a business by yourself.
Yes.
Even if you're doing it by yourself. Even if you're doing it by yourself and you have a family, your family is still in that business.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Financially, emotionally.
Exactly. Why are you still up at 10 o'clock at night? Where's my family time, right? They're still affected by that.
We actually, talking about family time, I remember when my son we adopted our son, our oldest son. He's 21 now, but he was like 14 then. And we adopted our first 2 sons. So our 9-year-old and our 21-year-old were at that time, I think, 3 and 15. And what we did was we made it a family night. And remember at the exchange where we were trying to get this contract in at the last minute. And we had to put these binders together, and the binders have to be dropped off to City Hall by like 8 a.m. in the morning. And I had to put 3 binders together.
So guess who was making copies? Guess who would doing staples?
So I created an assembly line with
the whole family was doing it.
One person was putting it in the binder, and one person was double checking to make sure that everything was in the binder. And I thought about that, and I was just like, well, you know what? This has been a family affair. And now we have a new baby, our actual biological baby, our miracle baby. She's 1. And now we took her to New Orleans 2 weeks ago.
For a conference.
For a conference.
And guess what she was doing? Passing out
flyers.
Because who can avoid that cute little face?
And nobody turned her down. She's like the best flyer giver ever. So, yes, it's a family affair.
Yeah, we had our son. He would do stuff. He was like maybe 2 or 3, and he'd be putting paper in the printer, help take this to empty the trash cans, and I need you to do these different things. And I think that's great.
There's no small jobs.
There's no small jobs.
That's very cool. And yeah, teaching the kids one, very young, hey, this is what it takes. This is, you might be the business owner, but there's still a lot of things behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see that still have to get done. So they see that in work. I know our son sees that. He sees the late nights or the early mornings and, kind of what goes with that.
How old is your son?
Our son's 9.
He's 9 now.
Oh, we have a 9.
Our son's 9.
But our 21-year-old, he keeps telling us he wants to be the CEO. And he doesn't understand why he has to do the small jobs. He was the inventory this summer. He was the inventory specialist while he was out he's in between college, and we made him the inventory specialist. And he was so mad because he didn't get a director level position.
You haven't made it there yet.
Yeah. He made it yet. He
You can give yourself any title you want. You can say, I'm director of inventory. Right there, but that's what you're working on right now.
That's so cute. I do that. I mean, like, you can have that title. I just need you to do the task.
It's something important that we're teaching him because we want him. Number one, we have done every role in our businesses. Yeah. We have done every single role. So if we're not above sweeping floors, come on, and if we're not above watching a snot-nosed kid, like we gotta clean. Every now and then we even make ourselves go back and do something in that role, in those roles with the people that serve with us. Yeah, because we cannot forget where we came from, and we have to stay connected to the purpose, like the mission of this. And so, sometimes I go to a school and I'll just sit with the kids and have snack with them and then work with an instructor to put a project together. I'll do that now.
Yeah, we kind of do the same thing because you have to know how to do every role. If somebody calls out or something, you have to be able to do it. Somebody takes vacation. So, we're figuring out their role when they're gone and taking those calls that somebody else would have taken. But as business owners, you have to be able to do that. I think that's awesome that you guys, Chris, Ty, thank you so much for being on our show today. It's so awesome to hear all that you guys have going on and what you're doing to impact the community and the next generation of artists and the broad scope of what an artist is. So how can people find you? How can people donate? How can they get involved?
Yes, definitely. So if you want to donate, great cause. I'm biased, of course, but we have reached so many students. So you go to the website, artportunityknocks.org, artportunityknocks.org, and hit the donate button and make a contribution. We really appreciate it. It goes to so many students. And then you can follow me on social media. All my social media is Alpha Knox. I am also a music producer, audio engineer, and we don't have as much time anymore to do it, but I still love it, right? And so we are also hosting our Love and Entrepreneurship Accelerator that's coming up. You can go to loveandentrepreneurship.com to find out more about that. And then Ty is hosting grant funding workshops every first Thursday. We have one coming up August 3rd at 7 p.m.
If you go to iamtywoods.com, iamtywoods.com, everything will be on the website, on the homepage for you to be able to register for the next grant writing workshop.
Yep. And if you want to stay connected with me, you have LinkedIn. It's Chris A. Woods. Just look me up. I'll connect with you.
Yeah. Connect with me on Instagram at @IAM_Ty Woods.
Wow, it was so awesome talking with y'all today. You got so much going on, so many great things, impacts for the community, and build a great little business empire over there that you guys are working on. We really appreciate you being on the show today. And everybody, hey, if you like what you heard today and you've been listening along, you haven't liked and subscribed yet, hit that like and subscribe button and come back soon and you'll get alerts for when we have our next podcast coming up. And again, thank you everyone for listening. And again, thanks Chris and Ty for being on the show today. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.